So this next story is from Malaysia as well, but this particular person told me that they want to go anonymous, so that's how we're going to go. So I asked them about if you have any urban legend in Malaysia or anything. So this person said to me, that's how it goes. Okay. I don't know much about urban legend in Malaysia, since the urban legend here are of the Malays race, and I am not one. My parents are literally from the Philippines. So what I have known is mostly influenced by my own ethnic race, culture, and my community. So I wouldn't say it's Malaysian urban legend. Malaysians are the same breed as Korean netizens. I don't want to be associated with them. My community side of urban legend, however, got many stories since our ethnic group is fundamentally based on superstition. Wow! Though I don't want to say much about it since we already have bad image to both Malaysian and the Philippines. We're just sea gypsies with no land to belong to, ma'am. So you can put it anonymously, I'll tell you one. So our culture, like I said, the base of our ethnic group is superstition. Back at the time before the civilization, our people used to worship the ancestor in the sea. We have no religion and we live on the sea, hence why we are called the sea gypsies. We only come to the land to get land foods or exchange something for our daily necessities. We have this ritual that have been passed by from generation to another generation. However, comes civilization and modernization, humans change and adapt to today's existing religion, which is Christianity, Islam, and all. However, some families still keep the culture alive and perform their rituals. And one of the families are mine. The ritual is basically giving offerings to the dead, foods, drinks, clothes, etc. By the dead, I mean our ancestors. Remember how I said before we have religion, our people worship the spirit of the sea, which was called the ancestor of the sea, because they believed whatever spirit there is in the sea will protect us, the sea people, from any harm and bring us wealth. So every once a while we would give offerings to the dead, and some take it to extreme to the point of making a small house. You know, before making a house, an architect will make a prototype smaller version. Yeah, that's what it looked like with roof and all. Then we will put the foods and drinks and whatever we offer inside the small house. We light out sage. I don't know if you know this, but it's a stone that will produce smoke if you burn it. And like fan the smoke towards the small house while chanting for the dead to eat properly and receive our offerings. It could be for ancestors or your unborn child, whatever you want the house to be offered to. Hence why people in my community are more sensitive to supernatural things from other people, because we are already superstitious and worshipping what we shouldn't have. And at least in each family, there would be a shaman. And even if we don't practice those superstitious things anymore, what's done can't be undone, and thus the bloodline of the shaman's family will have consequences, like having sixth sense or become a medium. Like, I don't think it's bad to have such thing like having sixth sense or becoming a medium. So if you ask anyone from our community, supernatural and things beyond logic explanation is something pretty normal for us at the end. Our ghosts are of variety: headless cow, the giant black creature, the lady in white, the sea spirit, the ghost with red appearing like the red spark when you light the cigarette, mouth and eyes, the ghost which head and body can be separated and fly around looking for victims, etc. There's many more, but they're all in our language and I don't know how to spell them or explain them. But the worst kind is the sea spirit and the headless cow, because they kill and are not afraid of Bible or Holy Quran recitals. When you encounter one, should run if you can. But if you encounter the sea spirit, you're likely to be dead the next morning, like all those villagers in my parents' hometown. So this next story is by Akashi Mughal, and she already shared her story in part 1 and she's already part of our gang. So yeah, let's read. I'm Alishba from Shadadpur. Since the house I'm living in is newly constructed and the plot was about 100 years old, I experienced something strange. Yesterday when I was asleep, I suddenly woke up. Then I felt someone was punching me. I could feel a presence underneath my bed. Believe me, this is pretty scary. I got the story from my cousin's friend and she experienced this. So yeah, this next story is by someone who is going to be anonymous. Let's read. It was winter of 2014. I even remember the date. 28 October it was. It was Friday and I had chemistry test to prepare. I was in first year. We had been going through some tough financial conditions in those days. My dad had been receiving calls from random person, but he would not listen to what he would say. One day, he got tired of it, and when he came back home, he told my mother that a crazy man is calling me daily, and when I block his number, he calls me from other numbers. He knows that I am going through tough financial times. At that day, my aunt had come in our home. Normally, she would stay for 30 minutes or an hour. But that day, she stayed for like 3 hours until my dad returned home at 7 p.m. The dad discussed it and the call again came. And my dad listened to the guy who said that, your relatives have told me to help you and they have said that you're going through very tough time. So my dad said, how can you help me? He started the procedure by saying, this is spiritual knowledge. He inquired saying this will require religious ritual which will be performed by a lady above 80 kg and only our auntie that had stayed in our home was above 80. So my dad handed phone over to her. She listened and agreed to what that person was telling her and head straight into my room and closed it after 30 minutes. She started asking for black thread. I'm sorry, I'm just taken aback. Some pulses, lemon, and then asked for a bottle of water and returned in 5 minutes and asked my dad to drink saying, I have recited a surah. I don't know what happened, but after drinking the water, my dad kicked me out of the home saying, get out of the house. I was angry as why was he acting so idiotic and let that guy talk to my aunt and drink that water in first place. I sensed something fishy, but I could not do anything as my parents were not listening to me and started doing this all. I stayed in my grandfather's home, which was located next to our home, and then returned after 15 minutes, and to my utmost surprise, Dad was asked to put a bed or a charpai on room top of the room where auntie was doing what that guy was telling her, and he laid there lamao in winter night at 11 p.m. with sorry, like you guys are so not disrespectful, but the way you talk about your parents, like that's the same I do, you know, when they make some idiotic decisions. And sorry, he laid there in winter night at 11 p.m. with turned over charpai or bed. I sensed it that it was black magic and my aunt is being used by that magician. I saw my mom bring a whole bottle of water and saw Dad drinking whole 1 liter bottle in no time. I persisted, but it was no use till 12 a.m. when my aunt came out and said, I have done all this, but I don't know. I feel like it is black magic and I'm scared. My dad all of a sudden started talking normally and everything came normal until tomorrow when I woke up and my mom told me we had been praying to God whole night, and I smirked. Why? She said that your dad and I had been hypnotized and we discovered a black thread in your clothing. I was shocked when she told me that she has thrown all the goods that your aunt had kept after the spiritual knowledge. I said, why? She said, your dad has put the whole call on recording and it was black magic, and your aunt had been told that what she was told was that that person told her that Allah the God doesn't exist, and auntie said all that, and the guy had asked auntie to lay on the bed in appropriate positions, and she did. This is really sad, to be honest. You know, when anything like that happens to anyone, I'm angry. I was like, what now? She added, saying that he has done half ritual and has to complete it today again. I asked about auntie, and mom said she's sick, and at her house someone is calling from unknown number, and she told her husband, and your uncle is cursing your dad for being such an idiot and let all this happen. Obviously, like in our society, men are supposed to protect all of us, even if it is some other man, because that's how we all roll, right? My dad told us he was mumbling some spells on call, and auntie was saying blasphemous words and said that, okay, she said somehow that something bad happens to her home, and something bad happens to people at her home. Okay, so this person is saying that God knows that after that incident, the auntie and her husband's business was nullified. She lost her home. My dad's business was completely nullified as well. My uncle was bankrupted to such an extent that he had to sell his villa and stuff. It has been 6 years to this incident and they still have not recovered. She had to sell her home. They both lost their businesses, including my dad. My uncle had to sell 1 crores house in 18 lakhs. Her daughter was kind of possessed as well, auntie's daughter. Her daughter started seeing a man. She would describe it as a man coming down from stairs with his hands and would scare the shit out of us. She is 21 years old now. We still hear her voice in our drawing room sometimes. Even she lives in another city. Yet we hear someone calling our names from drawing room. After that time, our situation has gotten so bad that we had to leave our home for like 1 year due to domestic issues and stuff. And after 1 year, our situation got better, but our auntie is still struggling. We were fine till last year when my sister started hearing a woman calling her name. And that poor child was 14 years and was dressing for her school when she heard her name. Okay, this girl heard her name, and that voice said after calling her name that I am here. She started crying and told all about it to my mom, who took her to our relative who used to do some type of spiritual activity and was cleric in masjid too, masjid or mosque. He then asked mom to recite Surah Baqarah for 2 weeks. Everything was fine until she heard that voice coming right next to her bed again. Thank God I'm sleeping with my mother. Ya Allah, I'm scared. And then they called our uncle. He came and started reciting Quran by himself. And then my sister saw that figure for the first time and hugged my mom and said, Mama, close my eyes, I don't want to see that thing. And it was the last time she saw it, and everything settled us after that. This is very scary, and I'm going to end this video on this note that black magic exists, and this is disgusting how people do black magic on their own relatives, on their own flesh and blood. Like I have some cases that like I know how someone's own mother did that magic on her son because he married to a girl she didn't wanted him to marry. I have so many cases like that, and imagine some people getting so much, like, this is a simple example of self-loath. These people who do black magic, I think maybe they just don't love themselves to do black magic on someone else. This just scares me so much. So yeah, I'm really disturbed by this story, and I'm going to end this video on this note. Please stay safe, and please don't be this much jealous of someone that you have to go to this extent. This is sad. Bye. उल्टी चारपाई को क्या कहे